I am somebody. I may be poor, but I am somebody.
Good morning, God bless you. Remember Dr. King in 1966, we began Operation Breadbasket on Saturday mornings. Then pushed in Rainbow Push. For 54 years, we met every Saturday. We're going to meet next Saturday as a live audience because of the coronavirus crisis. We defend, we protect, we gain civil rights, we defend the poor. We set the country, we fight all the time, but yet we not really know the science of the coronavirus. We encourage people, wherever you are, don't gather in great numbers because this virus is a killer. We face coronavirus, they let nothing break your spirit. We'll keep meeting, we'll talk by internet, we'll talk by television. We'll keep meeting every Saturday morning by television, but not in live audience because of the danger involved. Reduce the risk and increase the output. You keep your hope alive and let nothing break your spirit. See you next Saturday on television. God bless you.
We are sanctuary. We are a sanctuary.
When I think of Rainbow Push, I think of two words: social justice.
Education advocacy.
Political empowerment.
Freedom and equality.
Corporate partnership.
Stop the violence. Save the children. Don't get in. Shut it down. If we don't get in, shut it down.
Political change.
Inclusion, evolution, progress, justice.
Jesse Jackson.
Keep hope alive. Alive. Keep hope alive. Alive.
While the government continues to tell the public not to panic, it seems there's growing concern among South Africans about the possibility of contracting COVID-19, particularly in South Africa's crammed public transport system. Now, the most popular mode of transportation here is 16-seater minibuses, also known as taxis. Now, these taxis transport around 15 million passengers on a daily basis and are a vital cog of our economy and of our transportation system. Now, it's feared that the close proximity of passengers as well as the frequent handling of money presents an acute risk of transmission, which left unchecked could spread to all corners of the country. And this is something our fragile healthcare system will battle to cope with.
You will have heard already that we already have 185 people, no, 116 people rather, 116 people who already have the virus. It is spreading. So it is necessary that we close ranks, we work together to ensure that in the end, together, as we stand together, we are able to defeat this virus.
Welcome to the weekly Saturday morning community forum. I want to first of all thank Reverend Jackson for his opening comments and for bringing us this Saturday broadcast each and every week for the past 50 plus years. Today, as we have done across the years, we bring you information, we bring you education, and we even give you a destination. What should you do in light of the information that we've shared with you? Today, we're going to focus very heavily on the impact of the COVID-19 or the coronavirus. We're going to look at it from different perspectives, but before we get into the discussion, I want to first thank all of our first responders, our physicians, our emergency room professionals, our hospital workers, our EMT workers. We want to thank all of those police officers and others who have been putting themselves at risk just to protect the broader community. We want to thank the restaurant workers who have figured out a way to get food to us for those who are quarantined, either self-quarantined or sheltered in place to help our seniors. We thank those Uber and Lyft drivers and cab drivers who donated time to transport meals each and every day to those who cannot come out. Everyone appears on the front line of this epidemic. We thank you, or this pandemic now. We thank you for all that you do and continue to do. Those news reporters that keep bringing us up-to-date information. This is when you say pandemic, it means it's a global health crisis. It's not limited to any one geographic country or community. And so now that we're in a pandemic state of coronavirus, I thought it would be interesting and important for us to look first at the international community, what's happening around the globe. And I have two people, both of whom are from the continent of Africa, the largest continent in the world, to kind of share with us the global impact. We're going to hear also from our ambassador, Earthren Cousin, who will give us some real global statistics and impact as we look at food scarcity and as we look at what is happening all over the world in this new time that we live in, which is called the world after coronavirus. I want to start with Olivier Kamazi, who has just returned from traveling to the Congo and several other places. What happened when you took a flight to the Congo and then to the other countries? How did, and Olivier is the head of the Global Chamber of Commerce, African Global Chamber of Commerce. What happened when you left America and flew to these other countries? And where did you go, by the way?
Thank you. Thank you, Reverend Wilson. Thank you also to Reverend Jesse Jackson for giving us this platform to be able to share what's going on around the world. I'm so pleased to be here this afternoon. Also, I want to be with those who are affected by this coronavirus, who are staying home, who are in quarantine. So really, I want to be with them, with their family, in their prayers and thoughts. Yes, I left Chicago 3 weeks ago, going to Democratic Republic of Congo. And when I arrived to airport of Kinshasa, the capital of DRC, no one could leave airport. At the tarmac, we were being tested. We're being really having
So you mean you were tested in the airport?
At the airport, before you cross immigration.
Before you were going into the Congo?
Absolutely. Before you enter, just at the tarmac, at the airport, we're being stopped. You have a team of healthcare team being stopping us before they can just test us, verify if we have a high temperature, looking at our health conditions. Unfortunately, all those who were with me were and tested negative. We were able to enter the country. I spent there 3 weeks, and I came back.
And you came back?
I came back. And when I arrived to O'Hare, everything was empty because when I came back, I went through Brussels and Belgium. When we arrived in Belgium, fortunately, we were the first people to be at the airport because you remember the President Trump announced the ban of all European entering the U.S. Only American and the U.S. citizens, green card holder could enter the United States.
So you were able to come in and you were
tested? You were able to come.
And you were tested there?
No.
In Brussels?
No. And in Brussels, because I was in transit. In transit, basically you are in quarantine. Nobody is really, you are not entering the country.
Okay.
You just continue, you're transferring to the United States. When I arrived at here, so the airport was, first of all, was empty. I was expecting someone is going to stop me, being taken somewhere. Nothing was happened. I was able to cross the border, the immigration, enter Chicago, nothing, no testing, nothing. I was kind of surprised that because I was expecting some measures were taken in place to make sure everybody is tested, everybody is being, you know our conditions. That was really what I found out. That was last Friday.
So
last week.
You've heard from Olivier Kamazi, who has just traveled outside of the United States. And I thought it would be interesting to hear from our own Consul General of South Africa, Phumzile Mazibuko.
Yes.
Mazibuko. I got it. I got it. And you could tell us what's happening in your country, South Africa, in light of the coronavirus, and what is the rise or how are they stemming the rise of the virus?
Right. Thank you so much, Reverend Vincent, for this invitation. It's wonderful to be on the Rainbow Push platform. We're so grateful for this opportunity. The coronavirus has arrived, unfortunately, on the African continent. Currently, there are almost 577 cases in the whole of Africa. Of those, 116 confirmed cases are in South Africa. Our president announced on Sunday, March 11th, that South Africa will be closing its borders to foreign guests from high-risk countries as of the 18th March, which was yesterday. So we are trying to ensure that no further strain on our already stretched health resources continues. The impact in terms of the COVID-19, we have seen that most of the cases came through from people who had traveled to Europe. In fact, of the 116 numbers that we have, 14 people are suspected to have been local transmissions, basically people who have not traveled anywhere, whereas the rest of the numbers, over 100 numbers, is people who traveled specifically to Europe. So it was important for our country to stop the traveling, especially with high-risk countries. Our connectivity to Europe especially has given us the risk that we are facing. Our government has also limited public gatherings. There's no gatherings of above 100 people are not allowed in the next 30 days, which also includes a large number of our communities are Christians, and they'll be celebrating Easter very soon. Yeah. So most of the large churches have already indicated that they will be having different Easters this year in terms of no services with believers. Schools have also been shut down as of in South Africa as of March 18th.
Yeah, Congo is very, very, very interesting. There is only one case in
Congo.
Only one case in Congo.
Wow.
Even the case, the person was coming from the United States through France. So that happened on March, I think it was March 8th. When it happened, there was a panic in the city. The hotel where I was staying, immediately there was testing. Immediately, no one had access to the hotel. I was staying at the hotel called the Pullman Hotel. So immediately there was the measures were taken. Also, something new is happening, because remember, Congo is the most, DRC is the most affected country in terms of Ebola. Now they have discovered the what do you call it?
Cure?
The cure for Ebola. So now, sometime this month, they announced the end of Ebola in DRC. So what does it mean? It means that they have taken measures to prevent those like viruses which could affect their countries. Because of that, things are changing.
And so, you know, we're all excited, and many of you are worried. You're going into a panic mode, and we don't want you to panic. We want to share information that is both positive but also informative so that you can change behavior. We live in a new world now, the world after coronavirus, the world with coronavirus. And so whether you look at the Congo, South Africa, you wonder why we are sheltering in place, which is basically you have to stop moving, stop doing business as usual. We have to readjust. We have to become cleaner in terms of the hand washing, making sure we're not just touching things and then eating, and touching things and other things and touching our faces. The countries around the world have figured out they have to change. And so the first thing you do is you shut down all public gatherings, basically. As we close this segment, I want Olivier Kamazi, head of the Global Chamber of Commerce, give us your closing thoughts about what we should look at around the world, what countries should be doing or are doing as we live in this new world of coronavirus.
Yes, thank you again. I think this is the first time we have experienced where, whether you're rich, you're poor, any situation you're in, your status, everyone is affected. So also the second is Africa is less affected compared to global community. However, I would call upon the African nations to be cautious, not take this as a granted, because there was a saying like, oh, everyone can be affected except Africa, because they were saying those regions where they have warm weather and they cannot be affected by these coronaviruses. So now we see some cases around Africa. I will just tell to be cautious, because some countries are experiencing, you mentioned about South Africa. We had other cases as well, but were less. I will recall everyone to really be careful, to stay home, to be make sure you take care of yourself, make sure you follow guidelines. I will call our communities to make sure we are really safe. Okay. So I think this is a global, the global community is going to be affected again, but it's going to be in the short term. I believe by the end of this year, we may see this situation being resolved.
So, Consul General, I call you my CG from South Africa. What do you want the viewers to leave with? You have tremendous responsibilities as a Consul General from South Africa in Chicago. What do you have to say to us as we look at this global pandemic?
Thank you. We'd like for people to follow the guidelines that are prescribed across the board, both from leaders in the community, leaders in our faith-based communities, to really follow the guidelines and not to hype the situation. In South Africa, we also saw a little bit of panic buying, and our government has indicated that there's enough resources for everybody to share. But we are living in a community with other people. So we need to make sure that as we go out and try to social distance, we must also continue to live and share the resources in the community that are there. Don't buy more than you need, because the rest of the community also still needs. Our Chief Justice of South Africa, in response to this coronavirus, reminded everybody that our Constitution refers to South Africa being a land for all who live in it, and how we also need to remember that God blesses our country. So people who are able to pray wherever you are, this Chief Justice reminded us to pray, because there's a lot of uncertainty, and during times of uncertainty, people lose hope. Yes. So in order for us not to lose hope, go back to what you believe in and be strong and know that we will be able to live another day, and this too shall pass. Our government is there for you. Our South African consulate is still operational, although we've reduced the number of hours that we're servicing the community, but we are making sure that we're available to assist where we can.
And we thank you for watching. Don't go away. We're going to take a brief break and we'll be back with more information.
We need your support. Here are ways to give to Rainbow Push Coalition. Text PUSH, P-U-S-H, to pound 41444 to support the work of Reverend Jesse Jackson Sr. and Rainbow Push Coalition. When you shop, Amazon gives. Visit Amazon Smile and select Push for Excellence as your charitable organization by starting your shopping at smile.amazon.com.
Good morning. We are in the midst of a major drive to get more members, more people engaged and involved in Rainbow Push, supporting the programs of Push for Excellence and the Citizenship Education Fund. If you're interested in public policy and you want to help change the policies that impact those incarcerated, change the policies that impact students attending colleges and universities, if you want to be a policymaker, then you need to join Rainbow Push and join by paying your $35 right now. Some of you watch us every week. You listen to us on the radio. You're viewing us in social media. We need you to become a member. It's only $35 a year. If you believe in the scholarships that we give to thousands of students each and every year, we've awarded more than $10 million to scholars year to date. What do you have to do to give and support Push? It's really very simple. You can go to rainbowpush.org if you're on a computer and press donate. Give any amount. Every dollar is important. You want to talk to somebody, call us at 773-256-2775. You can give right now, any denomination that you choose. You can text the word PUSH, P-U-S-H, to 41444. Text on your cell phone. Most of you have a cell phone. Just text PUSH, P-U-S-H, to 41444, and you can give any amount that you feel comfortable giving. Or call us 773-256-2775, or go to rainbowpush.org and just press donate. Wherever you are, you can support us as we keep pushing for you. Welcome back. This is an important segment. We've been talking about coronavirus. Many of you have watched people all over the world. Well, we have a real expert in terms of the global impact of this coronavirus. And she is my friend, but she's much, much more than a personal friend. She is a distinguished fellow, the Chicago Council on Global Affairs. She's a visiting scholar at Stanford University Center for Food Security and the Environment. She is an attorney. She's brilliant, and she's a delegate in this upcoming presidential election. But so when we look at this this crisis, COVID-19, how does it impact the countries globally, particularly developing countries?
Well, first of all, thank you very much for allowing me to participate in this conversation.
No, I'm so excited.
And I don't want to overstate my expertise on coronavirus. Right. My expertise, of course, in sustainability, food security, economic development, the issues that you and I've worked on
the Ebola crisis.
I did work on Ebola crisis as the executive director of the United Nations World Food Program. Right. We were responsible for ensuring that the affected populations in the country where Ebola occurred had access to food.
Right.
And so how do you provide food when people can't
move around?
Can't move around is an area where I've had some experience.
So let's talk about that, because we don't know quite how to handle this, our living in a world with COVID-19.
Yes. So when you talk about those who depend on accessing food from government services or institutional services that limit their ability to go into a store and purchase. How do you ensure that those people can, those families can access the food that they need? And what we found was putting in place distribution systems that had minimal human contact, where you actually position food, you move workers, and then you allow people to individually access that food to pick it up.
So let's pick a developing country, and so you have a truck take food to a particular place.
Mm-hmm. Well, I don't want to say we're going to get to that point with COVID. I don't.
No, we're not. But I'm just saying, because people are trying to figure out how do you feed children in these, or families in rural communities in America. It's the same kind of thing.
It is the same kind of thing. And it's also the same kind of thing, I would say, in underserved communities where families depend upon food banks or food pantries or other distribution facilities.
And churches are wondering, how do I give food to the homeless? Used to bring them in and sit them down for a meal. And we're in this social distancing, so your expertise is important.
It will require us. It will require us to develop systems where we can protect the servicers, those who are providing the service, with the appropriate clothing, including gloves, masks, outer garment clothing that allows them to continue to serve people. And then giving people the ability to consume that food, if it's an on-site feeding center, for example, where people can consume the food while sitting appropriate distances apart. When you're talking about a pantry, so if a church has a pantry, I say keep that pantry going. If anything, people need it more now, but provide the appropriate attire for your people who are serving, the appropriate protective gear that allows them to deliver that food to those families, but do it one at a time. Don't have people congregating in lines where they have a potential to touch or to spread germs. And so with that kind of separation, those types of precautions, we can ensure that we take the steps that are necessary to limit exposure, but also ensure that those who need assistance can continue to receive assistance.
And so now when we look at these developing countries where you spend a lot of time, and we look at the COVID-19 spreading across Africa, Asia, we haven't heard a lot about it. What do you see, given your worldview?
Sure. Well, you know it started in Asia, and it has been, despite some of the statements that have been made, China did a good job of addressing this virus, and they took the kind of both medical as well as precautionary tactics that were required to socially isolate populations that limited the spread of the virus for months, actually for months. But now as we're seeing that virus spread across the globe, you're beginning to see it come into Africa. Rwanda had their first case. South Africa has a number of cases now. And Nigeria just yesterday closed their border to 13 countries, including the United States and European countries and China. The concern in WHO is suggesting that closing borders is not the right answer, particularly when so much of the food security of developing nations, their food is imported. And so if you shut down airports and you limit the movement of foods from airport through the air, or through ports, what it's going to do is impact access to food for vulnerable populations. And so there is a balancing act between protecting populations and creating economic harm that will result in food insecurity. And so those are the kinds of conversations that are going on in governments across sub-Saharan Africa right now. One of the benefits that sub-Saharan Africa has is that the majority of their population is under 20. And so, though, yes, in almost in every country.
Oh, wow.
And so the mean age is under 20, I should say. And so those who are most detrimentally impacted by the virus are the elderly. Mm-hmm. And so some are suggesting that they will not be as impacted, but the real challenge here is we just don't know enough. We just don't know. That's part of what makes this such a crisis, mm-hmm. is the lack of information, data, and evidence from which to make decisions.
I am so happy that you took the time to come and share. You know you have to come back.
Anytime.
And because this is an ongoing issue, but there's so many other issues that you know about in terms of food insecurity, mm-hmm. globally, mm-hmm. as well as within our country. Mm-hmm. And so I know you have to run, given this crisis, among others.
Yes.
But we do want you to come back and share with us more information.
I appreciate this opportunity. If there's any value add that I can provide, you know, the audience that is the community that you serve is one that I've been dedicated to you, and that's why you and I know each other for my entire career.
Forever.
And so I'm always happy to join you.
And we want to have a whole program around this global food security and insecurity as we look at these communities in Chicago, the 9 endangered communities where they're food deserts.
Yes.
You've been around food deserts all over the world, mm-hmm. so want to have a program to really talk about how do we change the conditions that poor people exist in.
Well, and I look forward to that conversation because it's not just about food insecurity. We need to have a conversation about nutrition and
yes.
malnutrition,
yes.
and the effects of what we eat in our community and how that is impacting our health.
Yep.
And again, that is another issue that I'm very concerned about as we look at the impact of COVID-19, is that as people are sheltering at home, mm-hmm. the foods that we'll consume when we're sheltering at home are much more likely to be high processed, mm-hmm. high fat, high calorie, and less nutritious foods because they're cheaper. And when people aren't working, that's what they'll buy. So there's a lot for us to talk about as we go forward.
And I look forward to it. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
I'd shake your hand, but
we can't.
We can't shake.
How about an elbow bump?
We got an elbow bump.
Very good. Thanks a lot.
Thank you.
The deadline and the time for delay has passed. Will you commit to invoking your existing authority under 42 CFR 71.30 to provide for coronavirus testing for every American, regardless of insurance coverage?
I'm currently working with HHS to see how to best operationalize it.
Dr. Redfield, you don't need to do any work to operationalize. You need to make a commitment to the American people so they come in to get tested. You can operationalize the payment structure tomorrow.
I think you're an excellent questioner, so my answer is yes.
Excellent. Everybody in America hear that. You are eligible to go get tested for coronavirus and have that covered regardless of insurance. Please, if you believe you have the illness, follow precautions. Call first. Do everything the CDC and Dr. Fauci, God bless you, for guiding Americans in this time. But do not let a lack of insurance worsen this crisis.
Hi, I'm Todd Yeary here outside Dr. King's workshop, the Rainbow Push headquarters, where people of goodwill from all walks and all places gather as comrades in the movement for justice and equality. Social justice movements have been birthed in the imaginations of people in places just like this. You can be a part of this justice movement too. Join Rainbow Push as we fight for justice in the 21st century. Go to rainbowpush.org or dial 773-FREEDOM and remember, keep hope alive.
We need your support. Here are ways to give to Rainbow Push Coalition. Text PUSH, P-U-S-H, to pound 41444 to support the work of Reverend Jesse Jackson Sr. and Rainbow Push Coalition.
Good morning. We are in the midst of a major drive to get more members, more people engaged and involved in Rainbow Push, supporting the programs of Push for Excellence and the Citizenship Education Fund. If you're interested in public policy and you want to help change the policies that impact those incarcerated, change the policies that impact students attending colleges and universities, if you want to be a policymaker, then you need to join Rainbow Push and join by paying your $35 right now. Some of you watch us every week. You listen to us on the radio. You're viewing us in social media. We need you to become a member. It's only $35 a year. If you believe in the scholarships that we give to thousands of students each and every year, we've awarded more than $10 million to scholars year to date. What do you have to do to give and support Push? It's really very simple. You can go to rainbowpush.org if you're on a computer and press donate. Give any amount. Every dollar is important. You want to talk to somebody, call us at 773-256-2775. You can give right now, any denomination that you choose. You can text the word PUSH, P-U-S-H, to 41444. Text the word on your cell phone. Most of you have a cell phone. Just text PUSH, P-U-S-H, to 41444, and you can give any amount that you feel comfortable giving. Or call us 773-256-2775, or go to rainbowpush.org and just press donate. Wherever you are, you can support us as we keep pushing for you. And now, an area that most of us haven't really given a lot of thought to is the business world. What is happening in light of the world after coronavirus for hotels, for restaurants, and for small businesses? And I have two experts to help us understand what's going on. We have Mr. Tyrone Studemeyer, who is also on the board of Push for Excellence, but he's the Global Vice President and Chief Diversity Officer at the Hyatt Hotel. The Hyatt Hotel Corporation. He's also an adjunct professor at Kellogg School of Business. He lectures on management and organization. He's going to share with us what's happening in the hospitality industry in light of coronavirus and what impact it has and how they are responding. And then we have with us Ms. Bernita Johnson Gabriel. She's Executive Vice President at World Business Chicago, and she will be able to share with us what's happening with small businesses and businesses in Chicago that mirror businesses in New York, California, and all around the nation. What's happening to the workers, what's happening to the companies themselves. So, Mr. Studemeyer, everybody calls you Tyrone. What's happening in the hospitality industry?
It is changing hour by hour. This virus has done a tremendous impact on hospitality and tourism at large.
Really?
And there's no way that we can really project what's going to happen in the future because we still don't know what's in front of us. If you look at occupancy around the world, it's now less than double digits. And the impact has changed tremendously. More than 80 million jobs in the hospitality industry.
Slow down and say that. 80 million
More
jobs?
than 80 million jobs will be at risk in the hospitality industry. And within the United States, that will have a major impact on how we survive and how we come out of this. So again, we still don't know what we don't know. We are caring for our people. Hyatt's mission is to care for people to be their best. That's our purpose. And how we do that is how do we really take time to listen to our colleagues to understand, first of all, they're safe and they're healthy and their well-being is really important and critical to us. And how we help manage through this scenario is even more important to us because this is going to turn around. We will find a solution. We will navigate through it. We're very hopeful. But the assistance will have to come from the federal government. We'll have to get assistance outside of Illinois and outside of other states in order to rebound. When you talk about people and that many people, hourly workers will have the most tremendous. 80 million will be impacted by this. So the last number, just to add that to you, is for them. So far, again, this is changing by the hour, $1.4 billion in loss of revenue in the hospitality industry. Now you have tourism at large, you have casinos, you have cruises, you have airlines. All of that collectively is in the billions of dollars.
So your 1.4 billion excludes the
This is just
casinos.
This is just hotels only.
This is just hotels only.
And that data is changing. Now, I'm not an economist by no far. I'm a chief first officer specializing in inclusion and diversity. But these are data points that are literally changing as we speak. That was just of late last night when we ran the numbers.
So how do you protect people in the hospitality industry from contacting?
So that is very important for us. We have colleagues and we have our guests and consumers of our products that we have. So you have to follow the instructions that have been given. Washing hands frequently, not touching your face, not convening people in large groups, making sure that you're having minimum contact and keeping your distance.
And so your people that clean the rooms, they have to be in gloves. Have they changed the protocols for them?
Well, that has been a part of our protocol all along, right? So that's some of the things we've been doing as you talk about being safe and healthy, and it's just like the flu, right? So you want people to really make sure that they're caring for themselves first and then caring for others. Right, I think our protocol when this first broke out in China was if someone had came from China from outside the United States, we did well-being checks to make sure that they were okay. If people really were sick, we then escorted them to the hospital. So those measures were in place way back in 2019 when this hit back in China. So some of these are standard operating procedures for hospitality and in the hotel industry, right? But it's been escalated and elevated even more so to the broader community. The more awareness, right? Oftentimes you talk about cleanliness until there's some type of outbreak.
So, Ms. Johnson-Gabriel, you work with World Business Chicago, and so what have you all done in terms of surveying some of the smaller, not as large, corporations that are not as large as the Hyatt Hotel?
Right. So we have been working very closely with the City of Chicago, Business Affairs and Consumer Protection. Most folks know them as BACP. They recently surveyed businesses, and some of the things that are bubbling up, what we're hearing small businesses talk about from the BACP survey as well as the businesses that call us, number one is, believe it or not, rent, because they're not sure that their landlords are going to understand what they're going through in terms of cash flow, in terms of loss of revenue, and so many of them are concerned that their landlords will not want to work with them on an agreement that helps get them through that. So that came out really, really strongly. Number two, of course, they're all interested in the president's announcement of the SBA loans and how is that going to work, and will it work for me? Typically, SBA loans don't work for a lot of small and medium-sized businesses of color. And so will there be some changes there that will help so that more folks will qualify? They've been concerned about getting their supplies in and just getting their inventory. Some of their inventory is coming from places coming from China. And so will they be able to get inventory to stock and be ready to serve customers? One of the things that we're hearing right now as well is some of their workers don't want to take public transportation.
Oh, wow.
And so they're concerned about it. They're concerned about their safety and going back and forth to and from work. And I would say lastly, the next one would be because of childcare now. Kids are out of school, and you know, how do I maintain what I need to do with the kids at home and still come to work? So those are some of the things that bubbled up.
I would add to that as we talk about the aging population, and many of our workers globally are really caring for their aging parents. So how do you care for your aging parents and then still come to work and be safe and
don't take the virus home?
Take the virus home. We have to be careful of those who take public transportation from a racial discrimination perspective. Now you have people that are looking at people who may look at their, the Asian descent, and they're treating them with disrespect. Recently, on one of the trains in New York, an African American male sprayed an Asian guy down with disinfectant.
Oh, wow.
Right, kids are getting beat up at school, right? And you look at this, and it really becomes an epidemic around racial divide and the concerns that are there.
I've heard that before they closed the school, several children were being bullied because they were Asian and considered to be creating a risk factor, and so other students were saying negative things and making the children feel some kind of way.
It's a part of the fear factor, right? When we don't know, when we lack knowledge and information, study shows that 80% of what's said about us are not in the room. So if we don't have that information, people make it up, right? And so that fear factor becomes even stronger. The resistance becomes stronger. When emotions is high, intelligence is low. So we're so emotional right now, and we're running to the grocery stores and we're buying toilet paper.
Why are we buying toilet paper?
But we're not buying soap. I don't understand.
I don't get it. They say wash your hands and you go buy toilet paper. I was in the stores yesterday. That's an aside. The toilet paper aisle was completely empty. I was like, what are y'all doing with it?
It's a comfort thing. I think I can lean towards that, and so, you know.
You say I'm ready in case
I'm ready in case, right? But when you think about if it hits our water reserve,
yeah,
right? How is that going to impact? And people buying water and drinking it now, you buy it and save it, right, until the time comes.
Well, they have had to restrict the purchase of water at some of the stores. Well, the other thing we have to talk about: what will the world look like after COVID-19? We're going to we'll weather this storm as we've done other storms, not as drastic as this one, but we're going to make it through. But what will the world look like, the business world, after this?
I still think it's too soon to predict and project. I know that we will not do things the way that we've done them in the past. I think the way that we look at security will be different. I think the way we look at people working from home will be very, very different. The technology to support virtual workers, how we treat one another, right? And then we look at, you know, health conditions and things of that nature will be treated very, very differently. Time off work will be treated differently. Globally, you know, we look at time off, paid time off is different here than it is outside the United States. What does that look like?
Now, that's the thing. We got to talk about time off. What are you doing now in terms of people working at home? How do you manage that? If I have the ability to work at home, you allow me to work at home, how do companies manage my time, making sure that I'm not stealing?
Well, okay, so now you're going to go into an honor system because you really can't monitor what people is going and coming, if you will. If your job requires, an organization can allow you to have the technology to support that infrastructure, support your work from home is the first step. Do we have the bandwidth to be able to provide the services for people to work from home is the first step. And then once you do that, it's an honor system. You got to trust that you're going to do the right thing and get things done. Know this, that people can always monitor your interactions on the internet.
Oh, absolutely.
Right.
We're doing that at WBC.
What are y'all doing?
We're telecommuting, so
how does that work?
Teleworking. So most folks have opted to stay home and work from home. And so we do have the technology that allows for that. We can do video conferencing, so I can talk to my team, my entire team, via video. We just had our one-on-one meetings. We have one-on-one meetings weekly with my staff, and we did that via phone. So a lot of the things that we are doing. The downside to what we do is at WBC we do a lot of convening. We do a lot of convening. So we're bringing folks together from all sectors. 20, 30, you know, at a time. And so just doing that differently now is challenging for us.
Well, you're going to have to teach some other people. Organizations like this one, we have to learn everybody says the technology. What is that technology that allows us to do video conferencing? Because we can't have the conferences we used to have because of this virus. More people, the American Bar Association has canceled all of its and we got to get, for lawyers, you have to get CLEs. Right. So now everything's going to be online.
I think when you look at webinars, you'll see more webinars in place, that interaction. But what we lose is the human connection.
The human connection.
Right, and we don't want to get away from that. One of my concerns or fears that people who are innovative individuals who are working from home, who are not connecting with people, right, those who are extroverted. I mean, I don't know what to do. I'm extroverted. I need people. I know you. I'm trying. It's driving me. I was glad to do this show today because I can get out and connect in with people. So how we manage through that is going to be very difficult for some and for others. How do we stay focused? But our focus right now is ensuring that our people feel that they're cared for, that we're understanding that, you know, what is your well-being? How are you feeling? What's going on? Is your family okay? Are you able to take care of your kids? You know, because the work is going to be there. It's not going anywhere.
So are you calling your workers? How are you making sure that the workers and their families differently than what you perhaps have done in the past? So what do we do now? So for me, I have a team, but I also have a diversity business resource group. So we have 7 of them. This morning I convened the 7 of them to find out what's happening with the Latinos, the Asians, the Pride community, what's happening with our working parents and our women at Hyatt. How are you reaching your membership? You know, what tools and resources are available to you? What we have is a Hyatt Connect, where a depository where all information is sent there, and we're directing them there. We have a policy about
being inclusion policy and working from home policy, and do we understand that? Do we understand our paid time off policy, our leave of absence policy? So we're reviewing all of these things to make sure people have the right tools and the technology to do their job and be their best at doing it. But it really starts from a place of care. You know, I opened up, and it actually takes people a little while to get there. When I was my call today, I said, I just want to see, checking, how are you doing? How are you feeling? People went down, well, I worked on my goals. I said, I'm within my budget. So hold on. How are you feeling?
Yeah.
How is your family? What precautions are you taking to make sure your family is? It's a shift.
It's a major
because we've been
shift.
so business focused. We've been so focused on goals and revenues and profit and loss until we've gotten away from the human connection, right? I just want to know, how are you doing? And it was really a shift, right, before people really got to it. And what I discovered in that call was that a colleague that was from Mexico, she's here by herself. Her parents are in Mexico, and she's literally in the city of Chicago by herself. Now, if I listen, we can put some infrastructure to support her.
Right.
You know, she may have to come into the office just to connect in with people.
Right.
That should, you know, is
or
that
people
okay?
Just checking on her.
Just checking on her, you know.
What are you doing?
So I can tell you my team is most concerned about how to get the best information out to these businesses. We've been working with our marketing and comms people to figure out how do we get it out so that folks aren't feeling like they're being inundated with information. We are looking at everything that we're getting, because obviously you got to fact check stuff, right? So we can't just send things out. So my team is very mindful of that. But I think what's top of mind for them is how can we get the best information out to these small businesses. I will say too, when you ask the question of how will things look differently, I think what it's going to do is to have our businesses look inside as well and determine how they might move forward in the future. Because I can tell you, my colleagues in the business development side of WBC, as well as the Chicago Cook Workforce Partnership, are now in conversations with Amazon. Because why? They just said that they need to hire 100,000 people. So we know that this online delivery service is going to grow. And as people come out of that, will they revert? Will they go back to the old way, or will they continue that? And so us trying to find resources to help our businesses get ready for that, because they can do it. But we've got to provide the tools necessary for them to be able to respond.
This is a whole show. So will y'all come back?
Oh, absolutely. Anything for you.
It's so much information.
It's enormous.
We just tried to give you a little bit. So I want y'all to give me in 30 seconds each. What do you want the audience to know? Because they're coming back. We're going to have a whole program just for the business community. How do you make the change? There is going to be a new normal after this COVID-19.
So for me, I would say go to our, we have a portal that is especially designed for small and medium-sized businesses for all the resources that they need. It's called ChiBizHub, ChiBizHub.com. Go to that website. We're going to have a special section on there where we're just putting up-to-date information, anything that you need regarding this whole COVID-19 challenge that we're going through. Every resource that we can find that's going to be helpful for you, we're going to have on that website.
ChiBizHub.org. And it'll be on .com. It'll be on the screen. ChiBizHub.com.
I will say, to move from human to being humane, look out for your brothers and sisters, care for individuals so they can be their best, look for ways to interact with individuals, to check in with your seniors, to check in with your young people, and let them know that, yeah, you may go hang out, but if you come home, you can impact your grandmother or your uncle or your aunt who are more at risk. So be mindful of each other. Each of us given 24 hours a day to do what we will. We can do something good or do nothing at all. I charge you the next 24 hours to do something for somebody else to make sure that they're comfortable, that they're safe, and they're cared for during this crisis that we're going through. We will make it through it.
And we will. And we thank you.
Hello, hi, how are you? This is Kalana Kale with Rainbow Push Coalition, and we are here with Sam Toya. He is the president and CEO of the Illinois Restaurant Association. Really important, we have a few questions for you with the impact of what's going on with the coronavirus. Could you share with us, just in general, how the Illinois Restaurant Association is handling it, and going forward, what you want us to look out for?
Yeah, so obviously, even before the shutdown of the restaurants, where restaurants now can do delivery, pickup, and carry out, restaurants were seeing a 40 to 70% drop off in business. Okay. So it's been very, very hard hit. The industry has been very, very hard hit. Now, all restaurateurs, they care, you know what I mean? They care about their employees. They care about the safety and health of their employees and, very you know what I mean, obviously exactly. their customers. Exactly. So that is number one concern. But then, you know, it comes to, you know, cash flow for these small restaurants from Chatham to South Shore to Rogers Park, you know what I mean? They care about, you know what I mean, their team members, but they also got to have cash flow so they can pay their rent, pay their mortgages, and then also make payroll. Yes. So, you know, we have a crisis going on here. I got to say the mayor and the governor and their teams have been very, very communicative. You know, communication is the key to success. We will communicate and we will get out of this crisis. Yes. But the point is it's the federal government's got to step up. Federal government's got to step up like they did in 2008 and bailed out the auto industry and the banks. In 2020, they're going to have to step up and bail out the hospitality and restaurant industry. Restaurants are the largest private sector employers in the state of Illinois. There's over 588,000 people that work in the food service restaurant industry. There's 25,000 restaurants. There's 7,500 restaurants right here in the city of Chicago. Does over $30 billion in sales. You know what I mean? So yes, it's a lot of money.
So it's a heavy impact.
Yes, yes. I mean, the restaurant hospitality industry now is what the manufacturing industry used to be 20, 30 years ago. Okay. This is this is where entry level people go. You know, they move up the ranks and stuff like that. But the point is that this is hurting working class families, and this, you know, and the federal government's got to step up and figure out how are we going to pay these workers.
So one other question, what I noticed that you were saying is everyone is being hit. What is the impact when I say demographics on some of the minority-owned businesses in that community with the restaurant?
Yes, the restaurant industry has huge African Americans, Latinos, Latinas that work in the industry. Probably it's majority, you know what I mean? Right. So it is hurting the African American community, the Latino community, and we have to step up and support the community.
Everyone.
Yes,
everyone.
yes.
So it's not just about one minority group. This is affecting everyone.
This goes like
so
again.
We're kind of like all in this.
We're together, all in this together. Like I said, African American to the Latinos to the Asians. Everyone's involved with this. Yes, yes. Okay. It's a huge crisis, and the federal government, they need to lead. So hopefully the leaders in D.C. will step up and lead.
Thank you for tuning in to our International Saturday morning broadcast. We need your support. Here are ways to give to Rainbow Push Coalition. Text PUSH, P-U-S-H, to pound 41444 to support the work of Reverend Jesse Jackson Sr. and Rainbow Push Coalition. When you shop, Amazon gives. Visit Amazon Smile and select Push for Excellence as your charitable organization by starting your shopping at smile.amazon.com.
Get involved with the movement.
Who are? But I am somebody.
Join the movement.
If you're not a member, become a member.
I am somebody.
Fighting the most important battles for freedom and justice for all.
You made us change.